Now that the dust has begun to settle on WrestleMania, we've obviously got Raw after Mania coming up tonight, where maybe they'll open up a new story. The story was finished at WrestleMania last night for Cody Rhodes, but obviously there's more story to be told. The Rock is still the final boss, still has a pinfall win over Cody Rhodes, so we will see what direction the company goes in. Plus, of course, Damian Priest being the new World Heavyweight Champion. A Cuban and a Puerto Rican are the male champions. Female champions are an Australian with Rhea Ripley and a Mexican with Bayley. But I want to discuss this in its own video here. I made a separate video just to talk about this. But during WrestleMania Night 1 on Collision, they aired a basically a promo, or like they showed like a little screen that said that the Young Bucks are going to be revealing the All In footage. So this means that Tony Khan is angry because of what CM Punk said on the MMA Hour, because it definitely made AEW look bad. Last week there was that promo that was cut by Adam Copeland, which sounded really, really cheesy. It sounded like it basically gave away that Tony Khan was heavily bothered by what Punk said. And I can't even blame him, to be honest with you. I really can't. I know that, I've beaten Tony up before for mistakes that he's made and dumb things he's done. But if the footage shows that Punk was lying, then I see why he would want to do this. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I still think that he needs to really snap out of it and focus on WWE. He needs, for sure, to, get his own locker room in order. But it's almost like he can't. In this case, if Punk had not said anything about AEW in the interview with Ariel Helwani, I don't think this would have ever gone out. There's been talk that Tony's had this footage for a long time, and that at one time he wanted to show it, but he just chose to just move on and just not think about it. But if he feels that the company's being misrepresented, I can kind of understand that. Now, here's the thing, though. There's some things about this that I want to get off my chest, because it's not that simple. Is this a publicity stunt? Yes. There's no question they're doing this for ratings. There's no question that this is something that has an ulterior motive besides just quote unquote clearing Tony's name. Number two, that doesn't erase. No matter what is shown on that video, there are still things about this story that cannot be erased. If Jack Perry really did, not if, Jack Perry really did make that comment on television prior to going to the back, obviously that situation with Tony Schiavone happened. Tony even confirmed it. He doesn't want to talk about it, but he confirmed that it did happen. Or, well, he more so denied. He didn't deny it. He basically was like, yeah, so what? Kind of an attitude. And also, clearly, a lot of the things Punk said were true about sort of how the locker room is, and even some of the stuff that we didn't know, you could tell there was truth in it. But even when I did my video on this last week, I remember I said, like, wait a minute, some of this does not add up, because it was pretty clearly noted, both privately to me and publicly, that Punk got in Jack Perry's face, and the way that he sort of framed it last week was, well, I just kindly asked him what he was doing wrong, when no, there's no question Punk raised his voice, and it's never, it felt like Punk was trying to kind of cupcake himself, you know what I mean? He was kind of trying to not play the victim, that's not the right word, but sort of diminish his role in the fight. And obviously Punk went from talking to violence. And whenever you go from talking to violence, whenever you put your hands on somebody else, that elevates the situation. That raises the situation. It changes things. Punk could have walked away. Obviously, he told Tony. Obviously, we'll find out Wednesday, but Jack Perry got in his face, and I understand how when somebody gets in your face, your survival instincts kick in. But the situation here is Punk already got into a fight and All Out. And so there were fans online that were saying that they felt like Punk swung on Perry, knowing that it would help Tony Khan cut him. It was almost like Punk wanted to get fired. Now, I'm not saying that's the case, but you could certainly make that argument, and I don't think you'd even be considered a conspiracy theorist because Punk himself said in the Helwani interview that he wanted to leave the company after All Out because he felt like he wasn't welcome there, specifically by the EVPs. So it's one of those things where obviously that theory makes sense. And you can sit there and make fun of Tony all you want, and certainly I have, because he can't. He just, it's almost like a butthurt ex-girlfriend. Like, people were comparing this to Eric Bischoff calling out Vince McMahon in 1998 for a fight. I would actually go back a bit further. This reminds me of when WWF introduced the fake Razor and the fake Diesel because they were mad that Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were getting super over with the NWO. It just came off. It just screamed like butthurt. You know, besides the obvious Billionaire Ted skits, which were even before then. Now, AEW has not gotten to the point where they're doing skits making fun of WWE. I mean, even TNA did that. But they are at the point where they're clearly number two. Like, when you announce that the weekend of WrestleMania, it almost screams. You're almost telling the world we are number two, and we will be for a long time. And even if you are number two, because obviously AEW is, you never want to behave like you're second rate. You never want to behave like you're a rinky-dink promotion. And there's a lot of money behind AEW. There's a lot of money behind it. And it's always been focused on your product. But obviously, if the video footage shows that there was a huge discrepancy between what Punk said, it's going to make Punk look bad. However, ultimately, what does it matter? Punk's not going to get released from his WWE deal. It's not going to affect Punk's money at all. It's going to make you look second rate. And then here's the big elephant in the room no one seems to be talking about. This is being done as a ratings ploy because they hit I think the number was around 700,000 last week, which is another decline for Dynamite. If they do this and don't get at least 950,000, I would be shocked. And that's a bad sign because that means that even the publicity stunts don't work anymore. That means that people are so disconnected from your product that you can't even get eyeballs for the Punk footage. And by the way, I also thought at first that it was going to be some kind of rib, like the Young Bucks, like making fun of what happened, like reenacting it or something stupid and goofy. But apparently they're really going to show the footage. Like, a lot of the people like Sean Ross Sapp and other people in the business have said they're really showing it. So, okay, I mean, if it does a rating, I mean, it'll be a 1 week boost. What that'll matter for the negotiations for the TV deal, that's between Tony Khan, AEW, and TNT, Turner Sports. But if this thing does not do well in the ratings, it's going to just once again show you that people are not invested in AEW anymore. And on the week that WWE has an extremely successful WrestleMania, a phenomenal show where one of your company founders became their top guy, and he got the confetti and the celebration as if we were ushering in like the next Bruno or the next Austin. They were really putting that over, man. Like, this is a new era. And, you know, the eyeballs this week are not going to be on AEW. They're just not. So they're trying to get as many as they can to show the CM Punk footage. And yes, this is definitely catering to the internet because I'm not sure how many mainstream casuals even know the stories about All In. Except for Tony going on TV and saying he feared for his life. And let me tell you, if that footage comes out and there at no point does it look as bad as for people to fear for their life, it's going to make Tony look like even more of a pussy. And this could backfire. This could backfire. If these guys have a smoking gun, you know, no pun intended, it's a figure of speech. It means if these guys have validity to what they're showing and there's a real game changer as far as opinion goes, go for it. But if it doesn't, this could backfire. big time. We'll find out Wednesday. But I am going to watch Raw tonight to see where the angles go. I might come back with a video. I might not. Also, tomorrow's X-Men 97, and that show's just, oh man, what a time to be alive. Anyways, man, y'all have a good one. See you soon.